What if some of the most comforting chicken dinners of the 1950s have almost completely disappeared from American tables? Long before fast food and frozen meals became common, families stretched every dollar with simple chicken dishes that were filling, creative, and deeply connected to everyday life. Many of these meals came from farmhouse kitchens, church cookbooks, community suppers, and handwritten family recipe collections. Some were born from necessity, while others became local favorites that lasted for generations. Today, most people have never heard of them. In this video, we are counting down 25 forgotten poor man chicken dinners that once fed millions of Americans. You will discover surprising recipes, unusual ingredients, and remarkable stories from a different era of home cooking. Number 6 is unbelievable, and I believe you have never heard about numbers 11 and 7. Stay with us until the very end because the most fascinating and forgotten chicken dinner is still ahead. If you enjoy uncovering America's lost food history, subscribe now and join us for more forgotten recipes from the past. Creamed chicken on toast squares. In many American homes during the 1940s and 1950s, creamed chicken on toast squares was considered a practical way to turn a small amount of chicken into a complete family meal. Leftover roasted or boiled chicken was chopped into small pieces and mixed with a thick white sauce made from milk, butter, and flour. The creamy mixture was then spooned over neatly cut squares of toasted bread. The dish appeared frequently in community cookbooks, school lunch menus, and church supper gatherings because it was inexpensive and easy to prepare. Families appreciated how a single chicken could provide several meals throughout the week. The crisp toast added texture while the rich sauce made the meal feel comforting and satisfying. Although it was once a common sight on dinner tables across America, this simple supper has largely disappeared from modern kitchens, becoming a forgotten reminder of resourceful home cooking. Depression-era chicken gravy over biscuits. During the years following the Great Depression, many families relied on simple recipes that could feed several people without requiring expensive ingredients. Chicken gravy over biscuits became one of those dependable meals. Cooks would simmer chicken bones and scraps to create a flavorful broth, then thicken it with flour to form a rich gravy. Small pieces of chicken were added whenever available, making every bite valuable. The gravy was poured generously over freshly baked biscuits, creating a filling dinner that stretched limited supplies. This dish reflected the resourcefulness that defined many American kitchens of the era. Nothing was wasted, and every ingredient served a purpose. Homemade biscuits were often prepared from basic pantry staples, making them affordable for working families and rural households alike. The combination of tender biscuits and savory chicken gravy offered warmth and comfort during difficult times. While modern diners rarely encounter this meal today, it once represented ingenuity, resilience, and the determination of families who knew how to make the most of what they had. Chicken and potato skillet hash. Chicken and potato skillet hash was a favorite supper in many working-class households during the 1950s. The meal was designed to use leftovers efficiently while creating something hearty enough to satisfy hungry families. Cooked potatoes were diced and browned in a skillet alongside chopped onions and bits of leftover chicken. As the ingredients cooked together, they developed a crispy texture and rich flavor that made the dish surprisingly satisfying. This recipe became popular because it required very little planning and used ingredients commonly found in nearly every kitchen. Farm families often prepared it after Sunday dinner when extra chicken remained. The dish could be cooked in a single pan, saving both time and effort. Its simplicity made it especially appealing to busy homemakers managing large households. Although hash dishes remain popular in some regions, this particular chicken version has largely faded from memory. It stands as a reminder of an era when creativity and practicality guided everyday cooking. Country chicken noodle bake. Country chicken noodle bake combined familiar ingredients into a comforting casserole that appeared on countless American dinner tables during the mid-20th century. Egg noodles, cooked chicken, milk, and vegetables were layered together and baked until golden and bubbling. Many versions included peas, carrots, or celery, depending on what was available. The recipe gained popularity because it was affordable, filling, and capable of feeding a large family from a modest amount of meat. Church cookbooks and community recipe collections frequently featured variations of this dish. Homemakers appreciated that it could be prepared ahead of time and baked when needed. The creamy texture and rich flavor made it especially popular during colder months. In many households, the casserole served as a complete meal with little else required on the table. As convenience foods and frozen dinners became more common in later decades, traditional noodle bakes gradually lost their place in American kitchens. Today, this once beloved supper survives mostly in vintage cookbooks and family recipe boxes. Chicken Rice Supper Casserole. Chicken rice supper casserole was one of the most dependable meals found in American homes during the 1950s. Combining rice, chicken, broth, and simple seasonings, it provided an economical way to feed large families. The rice absorbed the flavors of the chicken as it baked, creating a hearty dish that felt far more substantial than its inexpensive ingredients suggested. Many homemakers relied on this casserole because it required little preparation and could be made from leftovers. Community cookbooks often recommended it as a practical weeknight meal. In rural areas, it was common to add vegetables from the garden, making the dish even more filling. The casserole reflected the values of the era: thrift, simplicity, and making every ingredient count. Families gathered around the table to enjoy a meal that was both comforting and affordable. While modern casseroles continue to exist, this traditional chicken and rice version has largely faded from popularity, becoming another forgotten chapter of America's food history. Old-fashioned chicken dumpling stew. Few dishes represented home cooking in mid-century America better than old-fashioned chicken dumpling stew. This hearty meal combined tender chicken, vegetables, and soft dumplings simmered in a rich broth. The recipe was especially common in rural communities, where families valued meals that could stretch ingredients while providing plenty of nourishment. A single chicken could feed an entire household when transformed into a large pot of stew. Homemade dumplings were often made from simple mixtures of flour, baking powder, milk, and shortening. As they cooked in the broth, they became light and fluffy, adding substance to the meal without increasing the cost. The stew was frequently served during colder months and became a centerpiece for family gatherings around the dinner table. Its warmth and simplicity made it a lasting comfort food for generations. Although many people still enjoy chicken and dumplings today, the traditional 1950s version has become increasingly rare, preserved mainly through handwritten recipes passed down within families. Victory Garden Chicken Vegetable Pot. During the 1940s and early 1950s, many American families continued relying on habits developed during wartime, including the use of homegrown vegetables from Victory Gardens. Victory Garden Chicken Vegetable Pot became a practical meal that combined small amounts of chicken with whatever vegetables were available from the backyard. Carrots, green beans, peas, onions, and potatoes were commonly added to a large cooking pot filled with savory broth. The dish reflected the spirit of self-sufficiency that defined the era. Families took pride in producing part of their own food and stretching every ingredient as far as possible. A modest amount of chicken could flavor an entire pot, making it economical for households watching their budgets. The meal was nutritious, filling, and easy to prepare in a single pot. Many community cookbooks praised similar recipes for their affordability and versatility. Today, this simple supper is rarely discussed, yet it represents an important chapter in America's history of resourceful home cooking and backyard food production. Chicken and cornbread crumble. Chicken and cornbread crumble was a comforting meal that appeared in many Southern and Midwestern kitchens during the 1950s. The dish combined cooked chicken with gravy or broth and topped it with crumbled cornbread before baking. As it cooked, the cornbread absorbed the flavorful juices while developing a lightly crisp texture on top. Families appreciated this recipe because it transformed leftovers into a satisfying dinner. Cornbread was inexpensive to make and commonly served throughout the week, making extra portions easy to repurpose. The combination of tender chicken and savory cornbread created a meal that felt hearty despite using modest ingredients. Church gatherings and family suppers often featured variations of this dish. Although casseroles remain popular today, chicken and cornbread crumble has largely disappeared from modern menus. It remains a reminder of a time when practical cooking and simple ingredients created memorable meals that brought families together around the table. Poor man's chicken scrapple loaf. Poor man's chicken scrapple loaf was inspired by traditional scrapple recipes that were popular in parts of the Mid-Atlantic region. During difficult economic times, families looked for ways to make every bit of food count. Small pieces of chicken were mixed with cornmeal, broth, onions, and seasonings to create a firm loaf that could be sliced and served for supper. The recipe became popular because it stretched a limited amount of meat into several servings. Once baked and cooled, the loaf could be cut into portions and sometimes fried lightly before serving. Working-class families valued meals like this because they reduced waste while providing enough food for large households. The texture was different from modern meatloaf, yet it was filling and economical. Community cookbooks occasionally included similar recipes under various regional names. Today, very few people remember this unusual chicken dish, but it reflects the ingenuity of earlier generations who transformed simple ingredients into practical meals that kept families fed through challenging times. Creamed chicken and peas on bread. Creamed chicken and peas on bread was a familiar sight in American kitchens during the 1940s and 1950s. Chopped chicken and green peas were combined in a creamy white sauce and served over slices of bread. The meal was simple, affordable, and easy to prepare with ingredients that many households already had on hand. The addition of peas added color, flavor, and nutrition while helping extend the amount of chicken available. Many homemakers relied on this recipe for quick weeknight dinners or lunches. It was commonly featured in community cookbooks and home economics publications of the period. The soft bread absorbed the rich sauce, creating a satisfying meal without requiring expensive ingredients. Although it was once considered a dependable family favorite, changing food trends gradually pushed it out of everyday use. Today, this forgotten dish serves as a reminder of the practical and economical cooking traditions that shaped mid-century American family meals. Farmhouse chicken onion skillet. Farmhouse chicken onion skillet was a straightforward meal that reflected the simplicity of rural American cooking. Chicken pieces and sliced onions were cooked together in a heavy skillet until tender and richly flavored. The onions softened slowly, creating a natural sweetness that balanced the savory taste of the chicken. This dish became popular because it required only a handful of ingredients and could be prepared with minimal effort. Farm families often relied on recipes like this during busy seasons when there was little time for elaborate meals. The skillet method also reduced cleanup and made cooking more efficient. Potatoes or bread were commonly served alongside the dish to complete the meal. While it lacked the complexity of modern recipes, it delivered dependable flavor and nourishment. Today, farmhouse chicken onion skillet is rarely found outside vintage cookbooks, yet it remains a perfect example of practical country cooking from a bygone era. Chicken and hominy supper bowl. Chicken and hominy supper bowl was especially popular in parts of the South and Midwest where hominy had long been a staple food. The dish combined cooked chicken with tender hominy, onions, and broth to create a filling one-bowl meal. Its roots traced back to earlier generations, but it remained common in many households throughout the 1950s. Hominy, made from specially processed corn, was valued because it was affordable, shelf-stable, and capable of stretching meals. When paired with chicken, it created a satisfying supper that could feed several people without requiring large amounts of meat. Families appreciated its hearty texture and mild flavor, which absorbed seasonings well. The recipe often appeared in regional cookbooks and local community collections. As food preferences changed and hominy became less common in everyday kitchens, dishes like this gradually disappeared. Today, chicken and hominy supper bowl survives mainly through family traditions, preserving a unique piece of American culinary history that many younger generations have never experienced. Sunday leftover chicken croquettes. Sunday leftover chicken croquettes offered families a clever way to use extra chicken from the traditional Sunday dinner. Chopped chicken was mixed with breadcrumbs, seasonings, and a binding sauce before being shaped into small rolls or patties. The croquettes were then fried until golden and crisp on the outside. This recipe became popular because it transformed leftovers into an entirely new meal. Many homemakers considered it an excellent way to avoid waste while keeping family menus interesting. Croquettes were often served with gravy, vegetables, or simple side dishes. Their crisp texture and savory flavor made them appealing to both adults and children. During the 1950s, recipes for chicken croquettes appeared frequently in magazines and community cookbooks. Although they were once a common household favorite, they are rarely seen today. Their disappearance reflects changing cooking habits and the decline of many traditional methods for repurposing leftovers. Chicken and cabbage depression fry. Chicken and cabbage depression fry emerged from the practical cooking traditions of families who lived through difficult economic years. Small pieces of chicken were cooked with shredded cabbage, onions, and simple seasonings in a large skillet. The cabbage added volume to the meal, helping stretch limited supplies. The recipe became popular because it required inexpensive ingredients that were widely available. Cabbage stored well and could feed large families at a low cost. Combined with chicken, it created a filling supper that offered both flavor and nourishment. Although simple, the dish represented the determination and resourcefulness of households that learned to make every ingredient count. Today, it remains one of many forgotten meals from America's era of economical home cooking. Railroad workers' chicken gravy plate. Railroad workers' chicken gravy plate was the type of hearty meal that appealed to laborers who spent long hours performing physically demanding work. The dish featured pieces of chicken covered in thick gravy and served over bread, potatoes, or biscuits. It provided the calories and comfort needed after a difficult day. Meals like this were common in boarding houses, small-town diners, and family kitchens located near railroad communities. The gravy helped stretch a modest amount of chicken into several servings, making it practical as well as satisfying. Working-class families appreciated recipes that were affordable and filling without requiring complicated preparation. The combination of rich gravy and tender chicken created a meal that felt substantial despite its simple ingredients. While many railroad traditions have faded over time, this forgotten supper remains a reminder of the hardworking Americans who helped connect the nation through its vast rail network and relied on simple food to sustain them. Chicken biscuit pie from the icebox era. Chicken biscuit pie from the icebox era was a popular family supper during the 1940s and 1950s, when refrigerators were often called iceboxes in many American homes. The dish combined cooked chicken, vegetables, and gravy beneath a layer of biscuit dough that baked into a golden crust. It was an effective way to use leftovers while creating a meal that felt fresh and satisfying. Homemakers appreciated its simplicity and versatility. Small amounts of chicken could be stretched to feed several people, making it ideal for families watching their budgets. The biscuit topping added texture and helped turn ordinary ingredients into a comforting supper. Though once common across America, this hearty pie has largely disappeared from modern dinner tables, surviving mostly in vintage cookbooks and family recipe collections. Chicken and egg noodle comfort bake. Chicken and egg noodle comfort bake was a dependable casserole found in many mid-century American kitchens. Tender egg noodles were combined with cooked chicken, broth, and simple seasonings before being baked until hot and flavorful. The dish was inexpensive, filling, and easy to prepare for large families. Many homemakers relied on recipes like this because they could use leftover chicken from previous meals. Egg noodles were affordable pantry staples that helped stretch ingredients without sacrificing satisfaction. The casserole became especially popular during colder months when warm, hearty meals were most appreciated. Community cookbooks frequently featured similar versions. Although modern casseroles remain common, this traditional noodle bake has gradually faded from memory. It remains a symbol of practical home cooking from an era when resourcefulness guided everyday meals. Dust Bowl Chicken Corn Chowder. Dust Bowl chicken corn chowder reflected the hardships faced by many American families during the 1930s. In regions affected by drought and economic struggle, cooks often relied on simple ingredients that could provide maximum nourishment. This chowder combined chicken, corn, potatoes, onions, and milk into a thick, filling soup that could feed several people from limited supplies. Corn was widely available and affordable, making it an important ingredient during difficult times. Even a small amount of chicken added flavor to the entire pot. Families appreciated meals that were economical while still offering comfort after long days of work and uncertainty. The chowder became a practical solution for households trying to stretch every ingredient. Although it originated during one of America's most challenging periods, it remained popular for years afterward. Today, it stands as a reminder of resilience, thrift, and the determination of families who endured the Dust Bowl era. Chicken and potato patty dinner. Chicken and potato patty dinner was a creative way to transform leftovers into a complete meal. Chopped chicken was mixed with mashed potatoes, seasonings, and breadcrumbs before being shaped into patties and cooked until golden brown. The result was a hearty supper that required very little meat. This recipe gained popularity because it was economical and easy to prepare. Families appreciated how a small amount of chicken could provide several servings when combined with potatoes. The patties were often served with gravy or vegetables, creating a balanced and satisfying meal. During the 1940s and 1950s, dishes like this were common in homes where waste was avoided and every ingredient had value. Today, this once familiar supper has largely disappeared from American tables. Chicken bread pudding supper. Chicken bread pudding supper may sound unusual today, but it was once a practical meal in many American households. Stale bread was layered with pieces of chicken, broth, milk, and seasonings, then baked until firm and flavorful. The dish transformed simple ingredients into a filling supper with very little waste. Families valued recipes like this because bread was rarely discarded. Combining leftover bread with chicken created a meal that could feed several people at minimal cost. The soft texture and savory flavor made it especially comforting during colder months. While sweetbread puddings remain well known, savory versions such as this have largely vanished from modern cooking. Its disappearance makes it one of the most surprising forgotten chicken dinners from the mid-20th century. Wartime Chicken Rice Ring. Wartime chicken rice ring became popular during the rationing years of the 1940s. Cooked rice was pressed into a ring-shaped mold and served with a chicken mixture placed in the center. The presentation made a modest meal appear elegant while using limited ingredients efficiently. The dish reflected the creativity of homemakers during wartime. Rice helped extend the amount of chicken available, allowing families to serve larger portions without increasing costs. Cookbooks and magazines often promoted attractive meals that worked within rationing restrictions. Despite its simple ingredients, the rice ring created an impressive appearance at the dinner table. As wartime traditions faded, so did many recipes like this one. Today, it remains a fascinating example of how Americans adapted their cooking during a period of national sacrifice. Chicken and green bean pantry bake. Chicken and green bean pantry bake was a practical casserole built around ingredients commonly stored in American kitchens. Cooked chicken, green beans, and a simple sauce were combined in a baking dish and cooked until bubbling and golden. The recipe became popular because it relied on affordable staples that families often kept available year-round. Many homemakers appreciated having dependable recipes that required little planning. Green beans, whether fresh, canned, or home-preserved, paired well with chicken and added substance to the meal. The casserole could be assembled quickly and served to large families without significant expense. During the 1950s, dishes like this represented efficiency, thrift, and convenience. While countless casseroles have appeared over the decades, this particular combination has become increasingly uncommon. Today, it survives mostly in vintage recipe collections, offering a glimpse into the practical food traditions of mid-century America. Grandma's Creamed Chicken Spoon Dinner. Grandma's Creamed Chicken Spoon Dinner earned its name from its soft texture and rich consistency. Chopped chicken was simmered in a creamy sauce and served in bowls, often accompanied by bread, biscuits, or mashed potatoes. The meal was designed to be simple, comforting, and easy to eat. This dish appeared frequently in family recipe collections because it made excellent use of leftover chicken. The creamy sauce helped stretch ingredients while creating a satisfying supper. Many families associated meals like this with warmth, hospitality, and evenings spent together around the dinner table. Its popularity extended across both rural and urban communities during the 1940s and 1950s. Although it was once a familiar comfort food, changing tastes gradually pushed it into obscurity. Today, it remains a nostalgic reminder of traditional home cooking passed down through generations. 5-cent chicken mulligan stew. 5-cent chicken mulligan stew represented the spirit of economical cooking. Mulligan stew traditionally referred to a mixture of whatever ingredients were available, making it ideal for families facing tight budgets. Small pieces of chicken were combined with vegetables, potatoes, and broth to create a hearty one-pot meal. The nickname reflected its affordability rather than an exact price. Recipes varied widely depending on local ingredients and household resources. What remained constant was the goal of feeding many people with minimal expense. The stew was filling, adaptable, and easy to prepare, making it a favorite during difficult times. Although few people recognize the name today, it once symbolized resourcefulness and practical cooking across America. Poor man's chicken cobbler casserole. Poor man's chicken cobbler casserole stands at the top of our countdown because it perfectly captured the creativity of mid-century American home cooks. The dish combined chicken, vegetables, and gravy beneath a simple biscuit or batter topping that baked into a golden crust. It delivered comfort, flavor, and value in a single pan. Families loved this casserole because it transformed ordinary ingredients into a meal that felt special. A small amount of chicken could feed an entire household when paired with vegetables and a filling topping. The recipe appeared in community cookbooks, church collections, and family kitchens across the country. Although it has largely disappeared from modern menus, it remains a powerful reminder of an era when thrift and ingenuity shaped every supper table. This forgotten favorite truly deserves its place at number 1.